Hello. Hello, everyone, and welcome to War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast. Come to you, as always, from deep within the Outer Rim, far beyond the watchful eyes of the Galactic Empire. My name is John Mark Tolley, and joining me always is Garrett Jones.
How's it going, everybody?
Well, it is going pretty good over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have some Bad Batch to talk about, and I'm interested to see. We're just going to jump right into it, because I have some thoughts about this episode. I just want to get first of all your kind of thoughts on this episode.
My thoughts. Wow. It was. I liked it. There was kind of an Indiana Jones vibe, so definitely Lucasfilm pulling from Lucasfilm, which I think was fun. But at the same time, it feels like filler.
Yes.
Another filler episode that it's like we're 5 episodes in, we've got 16 total for the season. We don't need to deal with filler episodes because if this was a longer season, like 24 to 30 episodes, like Clone Wars was, that would make sense. But we're dealing with a 16 episode season. It's very short. We don't need as much filler content. I would like to have something that's more grounded in the characters and and what's actually happening with them. That being said, it was kind of a fun little adventure. Although I did get really annoyed with what's the treasure hunter's name?
Fee.
Like honestly, it's what?
I think it's Fee. Fphee.
That's right. Yeah, I for the life of me, I can't remember the character because she's that inconsequential. I mean, this is literally the second episode where she's ever popped up, and she's not that memorable. But the problem I have with it is that I get that they're trying to turn into that Indiana Jones skid for just a little bit, but like the thing that makes Indiana Jones so stand out is the fact that he's adaptable, like she was constantly shifting, being able to shift from, okay, well, this is what we tried, it failed, let's do something different. And that's fine, but everything she does, every decision she makes just goes from bad to worse. Like there's no plan in advance. There's no readiness. Even she seems like she's way in over her head on this. And things just, it wasn't so much an adaptability to changing circumstances. It was more of things just fell into place by accident.
Yeah. I think. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, other than that, I mean, like if they had left her out entirely, if she wasn't a part of the plot, everything would have happened exactly as it did, and they would have probably, done a little bit better.
She was, and I know I've used this before, but she was I can't think what the plot device is called.
Deus Ex Machina?
No, it's the one where you have the device that's used to get the plot going, to get
she's the inciting incident.
Yeah. There's another term they use for it.
Impetus?
No. Anyway, it'll probably come to me, but I mean, I agree. To me, this episode felt more filler than even last week's episode did.
Yes.
Because at least last week's episode, it felt like there was at least character development for one of the characters. There was something that we either didn't know about that character or we learned more about that character, with that being Tech.
Yes.
And this one, there didn't really feel like, I'll be honest, this was the very first episode that I watched it and I paid attention, and there were points that I just kind of zoned out.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, oh yeah, that's cool. Because I mean, we could be wrong. There could be something that happened in this episode, either with the crystal that they found, or that mech creature, whatever it was that they awoke. That we'll find out later. That's going to be important. So we don't know, but yeah, this just felt like just like you said, it felt very Indiana Jones, which was fine. I like Indiana Jones, but it felt also very video game-ish.
Yeah,
Like
well,
it
and the
felt
other
like
thing is,
we were watching a video game. Like someone was playing
yeah.
and they were, yeah.
Well, and the other thing is that there was no stakes until the very end. I mean, yeah, there
Hmm.
were, there were pitfalls and some traps and stuff like that, but things in this episode, there were no stakes. No one was
Right.
chasing them. They weren't having, they didn't have a time countdown to deal with. Nobody was really in danger. There was
Yeah.
nothing really pushing this episode other than
Yeah.
Fee being like, "Hey, let's go on a treasure hunt. Trust me, I
Yeah.
know what I'm doing."
I mean, and we said last week there was no real stakes of last week's episode, but you still had the thing of, okay, we need to free, what's her name?
Sin.
Sid. Yeah, we need to get Sid. We need to do this so we can get Sid released.
Yeah.
But and at least that was something that was like the crew, who was there, the crew of Omega, Wrecker, and Tech could be be like, okay, let's work together to do this. But yeah, this one just seemed it seemed to step back almost.
It did. It felt very regressive.
Hmm.
As far as the storytelling, I think what happened is they contracted Wanda Sykes for X number of episodes, and this was just one of those episodes where she had to contractually be a part of it. And they're like,
Yeah.
"Well, how can we shoehorn this unnecessary character into the episode?" And this is what they did.
Yeah.
But more than that, I mean, the 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 weapon that they woke up in the process of this, it feels like it is a huge deal because like it leads to way more questions than there are answers because like we're at a point in time when the Empire's in the process of building the first Death Star and they're looking for any number of weapons that they can get a hold of to place control over the galaxy in the biggest, most maximum effort way. And this kind of a device, this whatever this walker was, whatever culture created it, and however it was used before. I mean, obviously, it's got kind of a sentience to it, or at least in the AI programming, where any bit of technology is just going to be wiped off the map, literally.
Hmm.
And it like, why wouldn't there be something imperial, especially from Palpatine's end, being sent to investigate? Because if there's no follow-up on this throughout the rest of the season, it's a pointless episode. We could have done without this episode and the season would still be perfect.
Yeah.
But if this is one of those episodes where the plot point goes nowhere, at this point I would say it's probably the most unnecessary episode of the series.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely agree. I mean, did you see any like anything that you didn't know about any of the characters that you knew that you didn't know before?
No. In fact, like one of the weird things about it was that the team seemed to be led by Omega. Like, I mean, she was following cues from Fee, but it seems like Omega was the one leading the group into this whole thing, and she had no idea what she was doing. She was guessing just as much as Fee was, and if it wasn't for the fact that she was holding that compass map thing, like they would have had a much more difficult or challenging time getting wherever they needed to go. And but it's like it's weird, like there's no indication about this planet. They have no history of what had happened there, nothing on record, and that's fine because the Empire does delete records, and we've had that happen. I mean, even under the Jedi's watch of Camino getting erased.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, where is this going?
Right.
What is the point of this episode? Because the point of any story is to further the character's trajectory and to help us get a better insight in their story, in their character arc.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't have that here.
Yeah, and I mean, even usually with, like we mentioned, like last episode, with filler, with what are called filler episodes, those are usually episodes that are used to, at least I feel, it may not further the story along or may not have anything to do with the story, it will flush out characters. They'll be used to give certain characters, flush them out a little bit more and give them a little bit more depth. But like you said, this really didn't seem to do that.
No, it didn't do anything like that.
Yeah.
If anything, I mean, I think what we did get is if I do want to take this back. We did get some character development from Fee, and what we got was a character who has no idea what the heck she's doing.
Yeah,
she's a treasure hunter, but she's basing everything on little bits and pieces. She's not actually doing any research. She's letting other people do the work for her, and she's going to take all the credit.
Yeah,
and so you have this very selfish individual who doesn't really have.
Yeah. I think it's going to be interesting if we, and I'm hoping that since she's a pirate, that we of course run into everyone's favorite Star Wars pirate, Hondo.
Yes.
And that I think it'd be interesting if she's talking all this big talk about how such a great pirate she is and all the stuff that she's done, that Hondo just comes up and says, "Yeah, I have no idea who you are." I have that, and just like something to like at least get something like where I think that would be an interesting character development for her, because then she can be like, "Yes, I did make that all up because I'm trying to be something," and a little bit of humility for that character, where she has to, she has to prove herself and has to, that I made all this stuff up, but it's because of X, Y, and Z. And then you have some sort of maybe not reconciliation, but something to come about with all that.
Yeah, it would be good to have some level of satisfaction for the audience, because otherwise we get nothing from this character.
Yeah.
And she's pretty much of zero value at this point. All she's going to do is get these guys killed if she's not careful.
Yeah. I mean, do we, because with Sid, unless they're already setting up for Sid to leave, for something to happen with Sid, and for Sid to no longer be with the Bad Batch, I mean, we really don't need her, because she basically does what Sid does, which is, I'll give you missions to go on. Isn't that what, like I said, unless they're setting up for that character to either betray the Batch or to leave.
Right.
I don't really get what the point of that character is.
And unfortunately, this is one character I think they're just shoehorning her in because, again, they wanted to get Wanda Sykes in on this, or Wanda Sykes wanted to be a part of it. And they just wrote in this character who looks like Wanda Sykes, just a little bit more adventurous, and they just plugged her in wherever they could.
Yeah.
It feels more of a contractual obligation than anything else. Yeah. And I could be completely wrong on that. I don't know, but you know what? I take that back. I'm going to go right on record and stake my reputation as a commentator on all things Star Wars by saying, yes, I think this is a contractual obligation. I think that Wanda Sykes has really no business playing this character or being in the franchise whatsoever. And they're just putting her in there because reasons.
Yeah. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. All hate mail can be sent to Mr. Garrett K. Jones.
No. Here, I'll use the appropriate email for sending all your hate mail is Garrett Jones is wrong at whitehouse.net. If someone comes crashing through my window here, it has nothing to do with Anyway. Beyond the Empire. That's what we are. Yes. Okay. So
the Empire did nothing wrong. Don't forget.
Palpatine is God. Okay. So I mean, the animation was great. I liked it.
Of course. I
think the fight with trying to get the Walker under control, pretty easy to subdue. I mean, all they had to do is put the crystal back.
Yeah.
But it was harder because, the way the crystal had been positioned, originally, because of how dormant it was versus how the walker comes up out of the ground. Really kind of a cool thing. Makes me curious what culture built this thing and why.
Right.
Obviously, it's a war machine of some kind. But I thought, it opens the door for some really cool possibilities if this is something the writers are going to follow through on.
Yeah. It definitely is, and you kind of wonder, where are they going to go with this? And you definitely got the idea that because when they land on the planet, they notice that the planet is pretty much decimated, that there's nothing there, and you kind of got the idea that it was these machines that did that. So it's going to be interesting to see, if they follow up on that, and where they go from there, if anywhere.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder if there are other planets like this that have just been completely glassed over, and because the way it felt like is that Walker, it basically its purpose had come to an end. It killed everything on the planet, and so without anything else to keep it going, it decided to shut down.
Yeah.
Or the designer shut it down and couldn't transport it off world.
Right.
So I think that could be a really cool premise to go off of. It would be really neat to see it build off, because if the Empire is trying to track the Bad Batch, maybe they go and visit this location and they find this walker and they try to weaponize it in a way that would be useful.
Or they use something like the crystal or the something inside it in what's going to be coming soon. They're already starting to build. They're starting to do it. Is the Death Star? They find something to add to the Death Star. Because
I think that would be a really cool idea.
Because that's something we haven't seen yet in the Bad Batch, even though it's currently under construction somewhere, somewhere out there. Is the Death Star?
Yeah, and I think that would probably be the most logical direction for them to go. I mean, I'm sure they could come up with something else and make it work as well, but and like I said, that would give us more payoff than just leaving the episode as it is without anything else. The other thing I was kind of curious about was the creature that was hunting them. The creature acted like a guardian. Hey, don't turn this on. And so I'm wondering, because was this a sentient creature that was indigenous to the planet, and he was like a lone survivor, or is this or was this just like a watchdog, hanging out and making sure that nobody infiltrated this property?
Yeah, that's interesting.
And why do we only have one of them? And so again, it's one of those plot points that it seems to go nowhere because they didn't give us a whole lot of detail. This kind of an episode would really be served by having a two-parter, where we see them find this planet, search for it, and then they're, instead of just leaving right away at the end of the episode, they stick around to do a little bit more digging, because
well, even like with the creature, it would have been, and I know, being a quote unquote kid show, you're not going to see stuff like skeletons, but to see, them going onto what would have been the bridge of the ship and seeing the, the remains of the crew. And if they look like the creature, then you can say, oh, these were sentient creatures, and they actually, or just finding more of skeletons of the creature just lying around, like dog, like you said, guard dogs, and they can be like, oh, these were the things. But obviously, I don't think they would, do that for a show like Clone Wars to show.
I don't know, because Clone Wars has never really shied away from stuff like that.
This is true. This is true.
Because I don't know if you go back the later episodes, especially when you have characters who are shot on screen and they die, or they're stabbed on screen and they die. But then when Yoda goes and finds that Sith Lord, holocron in the tomb,
yeah,
the body is essentially a cadaver. It's reanimated.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
And the same thing. Same thing in Rebels when they trick Kanan into tracking down his former master, and you see that she's basically in. They've kept her body, and but it's basically mummified. So yeah, you're right. They haven't shied away from that.
Yeah, there's still some horror elements, like when they had that weird zombie worm thing in Geonosis. That that was a really creepy episode. And so they've never really shied away from the horror elements, even for a kid's show, and I think that would be good to use. But going back to what you said about seeing like the skeletons on board the bridge of this walker machine, like it felt like the design of this machine felt like it was very much autonomous. Like it could be pre-programmed and you just turn it on. It didn't look like it needed to be operated in any way, shape, or form. Almost like it was like a weird combination between walker, droid, and weapon system.
Yeah.
Like an artificial intelligence.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, what would you what grade would you give this episode?
I think I think it's going to be kind of in flux because, like, on the one hand, I want to give it like a D. If I was giving it a letter grade, I want to give it a D just because it feels like it's one of those episodes where it's going to go nowhere. However, that being said, that grade could change as if we get subsequent episodes that tie back to it and give us a larger scope of how it's going to tie into the season.
Yeah.
Because the last season, pretty much every single episode was, I mean, you had a couple of filler episodes, but they gave you good material to work off of, to grow the characters, to display some level of character arc, and to develop them. This season, this is the first episode where it's really like I said, you could remove this episode from the series entirely and the season would still run without a hitch.
Yeah. Well, like last season, it felt like even in the filler episodes, you always had that thing in the back of the Empire's coming. The Empire's coming. That was always. In this one, you didn't feel that. You didn't feel like there was something watching over their back that they were trying to get out and trying to be like, okay, we need to get here because the Empire. We haven't really seen. I mean, other than that first episode. And then the episode, of course, with Crosshair, we haven't really seen the Empire that much.
No, we haven't seen the Empire for 2 episodes now.
Yeah. For me, I'm going to give it a C.
You're generous.
It was just maybe a C minus. Borderline. It wasn't like a horrible episode, but it wasn't great either. It was meh.
Yeah, it was definitely. You could have slept through and you'd be fine. You'd still get the gist of the season.
Yeah. Like you said, maybe next week we'll come back and be like, oh my gosh, we were completely wrong because what they did in this week's completely made sense. Who knows? I trust Dave Filoni.
I do too.
Completely. So he has not really steered us wrong so far, and my faith is in Filoni.
Yep. Who wrote this episode? Do you know?
Let me look.
Yeah, because it was called Entombed, correct?
Yeah. Jennifer Colbert.
Huh.
She was head writer.
Interesting. Well, hopefully Jennifer Colbert will write something that's less fillery and more, more fulfillment to the series.
Maybe. Yeah, hopefully. Anyway, well, that will wrap things up this week. Garrett, before we go, why don't you tell the people out there where they can find you?
Yeah, well, you guys can find me on Instagram and Twitter at GKJ_publishing. I promote a bunch of different things that I'm working on. Mostly, I promote my YouTube channel, which is called GKJ Publishing. I do a show called The Right Way, where we talk top 10 book recommendations, author interviews, and creative writing tips. I actually have a couple of really cool things coming up this next weekend. Friday, February 3rd, is the release of my new book in my fantasy series. It's called The Mantle of the Fatherless. This is book 5 for the series. And then the following Saturday on February the 4th, I have a new episode on my YouTube channel, top 10 book recommendations from an author based out of Utah named Elizabeth Suggs.
Nice.
A really fun episode. A little bit different. It doesn't run as long as some of my previous top 10 recommendations list, but still going to be fun nonetheless.
All right. Oh, well, as for us right here, if you want to get a hold of us, the best way to do that is through our email, warthestars1@gmail.com. Also, that is our Twitter handle. It is @warthestars1 if you want to get a hold of us there. We have a lot of fun there. We are, of course, a part of Red 5 Network, red5network.com for more information. And we have information coming up, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, about ScarifCon, which is the annual Red 5 Network convention in Chicago, Illinois. We'll get you more information on that as time comes and get all the deets out to you. Hopefully I'll actually be able to go this year. Patreon.com/War of the Stars if you want to get a hold of us. I have kind of gotten off about what plans I have for that. Still plans on doing some cool stuff with our Patreon as soon as I can figure out how that's going to work. Also, spreadshirt.com/shop War of the Stars. Check that out. Also, check out our YouTube page where you can find our second show, Star Wars Through the Eyes of a Child, where me and my daughter Lily are going through the Clone Wars series in canonical order, having a lot of fun. We just recorded our episode 5, I believe it was, our 5th show. Watching that, and that should be up tomorrow. So looking forward to that. Check that out. And also, if you want to check us out, we are wherever podcasts are heard. Just go to your favorite podcast site, type in War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast. You should be able to find us there. Greatly appreciate it. All the love and support you guys give. And let us know what you like about the show. Let us know what you think we can change. We do this because we love it and because, we want to put out the best Star Wars show we can. So, with that being said, remember, this is not just my Star Wars. This is not just your Star Wars. This is our Star Wars. Until next time, may the Force be with you.
This is the way.